Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unboxed. And as you're going to see today, developing a set of beliefs, a set of guiding principles requires thinking and the courage to actually implement them. Soon, you cannot adopt, I'm sorry, I got a little tongue twisted here. You cannot adopt a belief because someone else says so. As I have stated repeatedly, and this is going to be the last time that I'm really going to drive this home, as I've stated repeatedly, if you don't think and develop your own set of beliefs and principles, someone else will do it for you. Your organization, your close relationships, your workplace, your superiors, your subordinates, they will happily create beliefs and principles for your life. I think one of the places that we're seeing that even now is in the halls of Congress. Won't get into that, but just no guiding principles, putting the fingers to the wind. What way is the political wind blowing? Where can we get the most votes? And that's not the life that a true leader lives. Matter of fact, Roberta M. Gilbert, I've been reading this every day. Let me read this for the last time. Roberta M. Gilbert says, a life lived according to the principles of a thought out inner guidance system has an entirely different quality, course, and outcome than a life lived according to principles implicitly or explicitly set by one's environment. In other words, the effort toward emotional maturity frees one from trying to be what one thinks others want them to be. Yet it allows us to remain in open contact with significant others. Last time we were together, I talked about how accountability is essential to being an authentic leader. Today, as we end this particular series, we're going to unbox my fifth guiding principle, which I believe should be shared by every leader, and that is valuing others. So stick around as we unbox this today. I'm Dr. Robert Davis, family life educator and relationship coach. And welcome to Unboxed, a frank and straightforward conversation about relationships. We're going to talk about family, church, workplace, and all other types of relationships. Join me for the next few moments as we unbox the power and potential of relationships and help you to live your best life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad to have you here today. Do me a favor, before we get started, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share, and also share your comments. That's right, like, subscribe, and share, as well as to share your comments. And those of you who are listening to the podcast, do me a favor, check out our website. It's www.swg-unboxed.org. That's right, swg-unboxed.org. And you can find out a lot of wonderful things about what we do to build up leaders, to build up organizations, and to bring the best out of you and your team. All right, so this week we've been studying and been discussing five essential beliefs that every leader should hold. And number one, emotionally mature leaders exhibit the principle of integrity. Number two, emotionally mature leaders exhibit the principle of focusing on yourself. Number three, emotionally mature leaders exhibit the principle of listening. Number four, emotionally mature leaders exhibit the principle of accountability. And today we're going to talk about how emotionally mature leaders exhibit the principle of valuing others. Let me share what I have shared and what I've been sharing for the last few broadcasts, what I genuinely and totally believe, and that is authentic leaders do not allow others to define and determine their inner guidance. That's right, their inner guidance system. Authentic leaders do the work of developing their own, not allowing the relationship of the environment or the organization to determine their inner guidance system. Today, I'm going to share one of my guiding principles as principle number 5, valuing others. Today, I'm going to do things a little bit different than what we've been doing. Throughout this week, I have been sharing who I am, what I believe, and what I will do. But I'm going to really read to you today a belief statement that I shared at the Bowen Center postgraduate program in 2020. It's a little different than what I've been doing all week. It's also somewhat wonky, so bear with me, but I think it'll be very beneficial as you hear me out. All right, so here it is. Here is my belief statement. Today, I'm going to discuss how I'm wrestling with the best way to live out my theological convictions within my responsibility to the LGBTQ community. And here's my belief statement. I believe in valuing others. I believe in valuing others. I believe I am responsible for serving marginalized and victimized peoples and communities. I believe one way to fulfill my responsibilities to others is by serving, empowering, and protecting what Dr. Murray Bowen called the underprivileged segment of society. My belief is created and shaped by my experience and cultural perception. I was born and raised in the Congress Heights community of Southeast Washington, D.C. I came of self-awareness in the mid 80s, and I came of age in the 90s. I was raised in a single parent home in a poor, crime infested community. I have witnessed or have been the victim of police brutality, intimidation, and harassment. Also, I have a brother who was an openly closeted homosexual. His name was Mark Clay. He died of AIDS in 1986. He wasted away at the Howard University Hospital because many of the nurses and other hospital personnel were afraid to interact with him due to the fear surrounding AIDS at that time. For over 20 years, I have served as pastor for several congregations across 5 states for the Seventh-day Adventist Christian denomination. For 12 of those years, I also served as a hospice chaplain, bereavement coordinator for both small and large hospice agencies. I currently serve as a director of a Denver-based nonprofit I founded in 2019. In brief, this nonprofit called Season of Grace Unboxed provides leaders, peer support groups, leadership coaching, and training through seminars and retreats. We help churches, businesses, and community organizations create healthy relationship cultures and help leaders to become authentic leaders. Throughout my adult life as pastor and beyond, I have been heavily involved in civil rights and social justice advocacy. In each city that I pastored, I've been engaged as a community organizer. I've worked with civic leaders to develop policies and programs that help poor, marginalized, and underserved individuals and communities. All of my pastoral assignments have been with African American congregations. However, I was able to facilitate the formation of 2 Spanish-speaking congregations comprised mostly of first-generation immigrants from Mexico and Central America. As an African American and a direct descendant of slaves, I have come to understand that part of the belief passed through the generational transmission process for the African American community is to view the larger Caucasian American society as hostile at worst and indifferent at best to systemic inequities experienced by a large portion of the African American population. My personal experience with poverty, interaction with the criminal prosecution system, and the Caucasian Christian church over the past 47 years has validated and reinforced my belief. Pastoring African American churches has afforded me the flexibility to engage in social justice and civil rights activism with minimal, inconsequential pushback. However, the Seventh-day Adventist Church is a multicultural, conservative Protestant denomination. As such, we hold, and I just lost my place, as such, we hold traditional biblical interpretations about the practice of homosexuality, beliefs that I also theologically subscribe to. My theological views, as well as being part of the emotional system of my church, causes me to wrestle with how best to fulfill my responsibility to others through serving, empowering, and protecting the underprivileged segment of society relative to gay rights, while at the same time remaining true to my theological convictions. To be successful in this endeavor, I have identified 3 systems I need to differentiate within. First, my family of origin, who holds conservative views about homosexuality and its impact on the moral fabric of society. Second, the conservative theological teachings and interpretations about homosexuality that intersects with my other biblical views on God, salvation, judgment, etc. Last, the denomination and relationships I have developed within this denominational organization. I have 4 areas of success around valuing others, especially those of the LGBTQ community. I have 4 areas of success I can point to in my attempt to differentiate and where I have acted upon my belief. First, I have been intentional in fostering meaningful friendships of individuals who identify as LGBTQ. Second, I was the only pastor of any denomination in Alexandria, Louisiana, who would allow an openly gay man who had committed suicide to be funeralized at our church. Next, I have worked with LGBTQ organizations to effect change on several social justice issues. Lastly, I preached a few sermons about the church's obligation to minister to the LGBTQ community and to advocate on behalf of human and civil rights. My work of differentiation of self, or attempting to become more emotionally mature in this matter, has created more questions than certainty. Questions such as, what are the healthy balances between theology and social justice advocacy? As I shared previously, how do I live my theological convictions while living my belief in serving, empowering, and protecting the underprivileged segment of our society, while living the principle of valuing others? How do I articulate my views within my family of origin, my local congregation, or the larger denomination without becoming emotionally reactive? An area of challenge to this belief is my past unwillingness to hire church staff that practices homosexuality. I have reconciled this practice by pointing to the fact that I don't hire individuals practicing fornication or adultery. And I have consistently denied people church offices that divorce their spouse without abuse or other biblical grounds. My greatest area of discrepancy with my beliefs about serving, empowering, and protecting the underprivileged segments of society is the way I interact with my immediate family. My belief encourages gentle, patient, and kind treatment to everyone. However, as levels of anxiety rise in my family, I often find myself being more harsh, impatient, and insensitive. I am wrestling with the discrepancy and the many questions and challenges it produces in my family system. Who are the underprivileged people in my family system? How well am I serving, empowering, and protecting our family's underprivileged, especially protecting them from myself? Is this really an internal belief, a guiding principle that impacts every area of my life, or just an intellectual, philosophical aspiration? How much of this belief is authentic, solid self versus my pseudo self created by community expectations, or of the generational transmission process and the pastoral context that I have been a part of? In conclusion, while my belief statement may be well worded, I still wrestle with living it out in my personal relationships and my responsibilities toward the entire community, including the LGBTQ community. I have more questions than certainty around this belief and how well I'm living it out in my life. Yeah, I am encouraged by these questions because I understand one of the components of Bowen theory is to move toward being a calm and interested investigator. My ultimate goal for self is to remain calm enough to live this belief in my life and interested enough to continue questioning and growing in my understanding and application of this belief. I wanted to do this today because I really wanted you to see, and this is a much longer broadcast than normal, but I really wanted you to see and to understand and to hear how a belief statement gets wrestled with in our own life and how we think through and how valuing others is a strong guiding principle for me. And how do I live that out as I interact with the LGBTQ community while at the same time holding on to my conservative Christian theological beliefs? This is what you're going to have to do as you become more of a emotionally mature leader. And as you and I work and build together and grow together, because none of us are there yet. It is a journey that we're each on, a journey toward a more perfect being, a more perfect being. I hope that as you think through your guiding principles and the type of person that you want to be, as you journey towards emotional maturity, authentic leadership, that these examples from my experience, these things that I believe every leader should have, will be beneficial to you. If you need support and coaching through this process, I hope that you will consider UnBoxed. Check us out at www.swg-unboxed.org. And before I leave, continue to unbox the power and the potential of your leadership. And please continue to unbox the power and the potential of every relationship Have a great weekend. I'll see you next time.
Community leadership can be hard, lonely, and stressful. So if you're an executive director, you're not alone. UnBoxed offers a dynamic peer support group where executive directors can share their hopes, questions, fears, and expertise in a safe, confidential space. For more information about our executive directors support group, email us or visit our UnBoxed website.